What's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring another video. This time we're going to be talking about another horror film, and yes, we're finally going to be discussing Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which came out in 1994. Again, directed by the returning Wes Craven, also written by him, starring Robert Englund, returning Heather Langenkamp, Nico Hughes, and appearances by John Saxon, Wes Craven himself, Robert Englund himself, and many others.
Bloody Jacob.
Bloody Jacob here, meeting my icon, Catherine Isabel here.
Bad man, you know that. And in terms of a plan, we fight.
Sexy, awesome, exclusive content.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, we're finally going to talk about Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Of course, I had seen it years ago, but I thought after my recent videos about my top horror franchises, with Nightmare on Elm Street being #1, yeah, it hit me stupidly that I never talked about this film. I talked about the first four. Never did a video on Dream Child, and definitely haven't done a video on Freddy's Dead. Dream Child I can actually like, but Freddy's Dead I just don't really care for. I don't know, I'm going to watch that again. But yeah, I just had my fiance watch it because she hadn't seen the last couple or so to the Nightmare series and a couple other horror franchises. So it gave me a chance to rewatch it and sort of refresh my thoughts on it and everything. And I gotta say, I absolutely loved watching this film again. Really enjoyed it. There were a couple different ideas for this going in, but after what happened with Freddy's Dead, they wanted to sort of redeem the series and also make another one, because even though Freddy's Dead ended up doing really poorly, both critically and by the fans' account, it still made a boatload of money. So we got another one, and luckily, yes, this film, New Nightmare, was very much a return to form for the Nightmare series. I absolutely love Wes Craven's New Nightmare, probably more than I ever have rewatching it again. My favorites have always been of the series are the original and Dream Warriors, but if you ask me on the right day, I could honestly see myself saying New Nightmare is my favorite Nightmare Freddy film. Which is saying a lot, but I think it is just that damn good. Really, this has Heather Langenkamp as well as some of the other real world people, playing themselves essentially. And this is Wes Craven's Scream before Scream. Really, it has a lot of meta bits to it, a lot of kind of fourth wall perspectives and stuff like that. Which is fun. Adds that style and everything. But again, at its root, it's just a return to a very good, very finite Freddy film. Essentially, it's a movie. They pretend it's like a whole series. Heather Langenkamp is dealing with a stalker, which she actually had to in real life at one point, unfortunately. And she played that part of the story willingly. And there's this entity that ends up taking the form of Freddy Krueger and actually tormenting these actors, and that's the story here. Again, I loved it. I mean, we have definitely much better makeup in this than in Freddy's Dead. Yes, a design alteration to Freddy himself, but nonetheless, I think he looks superb. You can just tell the quality of the makeup is better as well. He looks very good. I like the addition of the trench coat and everything, and sort of how they flipped around the colors, for his sweater and his hat and everything. And I think this is one of Robert Englund's best performances as the character. He gets to play him a little bit more serious again. He feels a little bit more sinister, like he did in the first two films especially. 3 still a bit, yeah. And he still gets some fun. You can tell he's still having fun, especially towards the climax of the movie. Saw some lines in there, and just the way he delivers them, it still reminds you of the humor Freddy has and the personality he has without it going overboard at all. It finds a very fine middle ground with an edge to the more serious side. Now, I know some people don't like this film, or some are more mixed on it. because it's a bit more on the slow burn side, if you want to put it that way. Because it takes time establishing Heather Langenkamp and some of the other characters, paranoia and everything about what's going on as this actually happening. Her son, played by Miko Hughes, who is in a boatload of horror films in the 80s and 90s, from Pet Sematary to this, and he was even in Full House. Okay. This entity is tormenting her son as well, so there's a lot of shit going on with that, him being studied at the hospital and things of that nature. Heather Langenkamp's parenting being questioned, her husband being killed. But yeah, and again, it's just about Heather Langenkamp wanting to distance herself from the franchise, right? You get to see Robert Englund, he and his wife. Yes, his wife in real life is actually named Nancy. She seems like a lovely woman, by the way. I've had the pleasure of meeting Robert twice now. If I just shift my webcam here, but you can see my little nightmare corner, right over there. But yeah, he is just a class act. So it's kind of just funny to see him. You don't necessarily see that part of the basement with all the cords and everything. But yeah. So it was good just to see him, play himself, basically. And then, I've seen some people criticize Wes Craven's acting in this because, of course, he plays the actual director and everything, trying to negotiate with, with Heather and such. And I actually think he does a pretty good job, for, what experience he has in that department. But yeah, some people don't care for this film as much because it's slower, because it takes its time, but I actually think it does that really, really well. Now, I can see maybe not being in necessarily the correct mood for this Nightmare film compared to others at times, but I really appreciate what they did with it. It has pretty much the most suspense in the series since the first film, and there's not a very high body count. I think there's like a total of 4 or so people that die in this movie, but you don't feel bored. I was constantly engaged with it. What kills there are pretty bloody and exciting, I think. You get a tribute to Tina's death, with a ceiling kill and stuff like that. Tracy Mindendorf plays Julie, a friend of Heather Langenkamp's in this, and I actually quite liked her. She actually gets a scene defending the kid, from the nurses and stuff like that, so you kind of like her as well. Lynn Shay has a bit role in this as a nurse, by the way. And yeah, there's some production people, or crew members that die towards the beginning in a dream, so I don't know if the body count counts that or what, but and the climax, I think, is very, very exciting, actually, seeing them go to this creature's world, which is kind of like Freddy's, but it's really where this demon is coming out of. I really love this set design to it. It looks really intricate. It has a really nice production value. This film is shot exceptionally well, I think, and it just feels right. But again, I've said this plenty of times now, but take your Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode, toss her aside for me, and give me Heather Langenkamp as Nancy Thompson. I think she's the best, horror movie heroine, in classic slasher films we've ever had. She's both kick-ass and more realistic. I think she's, especially in the original series, a better, more badass character than Laurie Strode. Yes, I said that. And Heather Langenkamp herself is just great. So I think this is maybe Heather Langenkamp's best performance in the series, bar none. I really liked her in this. You can tell her and Robert are having a lot of fun. And then again, just all the little cameos in this, from Robert himself and everything. To John Saxon as well, and I already talked about Wes Craven. And then when you talk about Miko Hughes, like I said, he was in a lot of these types of roles around this era. He's not always necessarily the best actor. Some of his performances, some of his expressions are a bit over the top sometimes, almost like I'm bordering on cringe. For me, he pushes it a bit far, but you can tell he's putting effort into it. And he does have a creepiness about him when he wants to. So, I still like him fine in the role. But if there is a weak spot in the acting, it's obviously him, and he's still not the worst child actor ever. But I just really appreciate just the time they took. It has a lot of suspense. It has the atmosphere. Freddy feels like a threat. He's not just like a one-liner, punch machine and stuff like that. and I think the climax is absolutely thrilling. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more we could talk about New Nightmare with all the little winks and nods and stuff like that. It's just really, really cool, and it plays on some real world stuff too, like I talked about. So really, again, if you ask me on the right day, it could be my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film. So yeah, if I had to rate this, I'd give this an A, like a 93, 95%, somewhere in there. 92% at lowest, if you want to push it. But yeah, absolutely loved New Nightmare. Let me know what you guys thought. Where does it rank for you? And again, if you want to talk about anything else with it, feel free to comment below and we can discuss further. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.